Hi, welcome to the first episode of DIY Voter Postcarding. I'm Natasha, also known as Natasharts online, and I'm just one of thousands and thousands of volunteers who've been doing postcards to voters in various ways since 2017. We've made a difference in a lot of elections. There are also a lot of people from the creative fields who've been designing, selling, donating, creating amazing postcards. And I know a lot of people feel like, oh, I can't do that. I'm not creative. I'll just buy some. And that's great. It's great people are selling them. It's great people are buying them. But I want to help you decorate your own, overcome some fears, and save a little money. Then you can donate. Now, if you are new and you found this video, but you've actually never done any postcards, watch the video first, and then go to postcardstovoters.org and get an account, download some addresses, grab some cards, and have some fun. And if you want to join a larger community, there's a big group called Markers for Democracy, and they have Zooms almost every day of the week. They have speakers. It's a lot of fun. You'll meet people online, and maybe you'll get inspired to start your own group in your neighborhood. So my first session today may seem a little boring. It's about structuring your space with borders. We'll get to that other fun stuff, so I hope you'll put up with me. And here's why I came up with this idea. Bear with me a minute here. If you have just a regular postcard on any sort of subject, maybe flowers or whatever, I got these and I put in markers, I put voters are out of this world, stuff like that, or maybe flowers, just any commercial card, or some of the more commercial Vote Pennsylvania type cards. I hope you find a way to personalize that side, or it can look a little too commercial. Well, then you turn it over and you look at the space and your script and you go, uh-oh. I actually whited out this part, but I really had a hard time squishing the message here. Sometimes people white out this line so they can write a little farther. But anyway, maybe you squish your letters and then people can't read it. Plus, the post office puts a lot of stickers and tape and stuff on our side that we're supposed to be able to write on. So I prefer this type of card. This is the original Postcards to Voters card, and I love it because I can add a message around here. There's plenty of space, and it's cute, and it looks handwritten, as most of their designs do. Well, I know what happens, though, and why people prefer the other kind is you turn it over, and people say, as we say in Minnesota, oh no, look at all that space. Well, white space can be your friend, but that takes a little while to learn. So I know people buy washi tape. It's this wonderful tape that you can get. It has Japanese origins. It has all sorts of designs though, or stamps or stickers, but then that ends up taking up too much space, and that costs money too. So I said to my Zoom group, just put a border on it. And I saw it in people's eyes. Oh, it'll go crooked. I think that's what they were thinking. It'll go crooked. How could I do that? I know people say, I can't draw a straight line with a ruler. Well, that's a skill too, and I can help you. You'll have much better lines. Or who needs straight lines? Maybe we can angle them, make them wavy, whatever. We just want to make some kind of fun border to decorate and to direct people's eye to your message. So you ready? I know you can do it. Let's have some fun. Okay, let's start. If you want to follow along today, these are the basic supplies that you'll need. Of course, some cards, but don't use your nice ones. Grab some index cards if you're at the store. A ruler, any kind of ruler. Of course, pens. A variety of pens. These are bold, regular, marker type, really bold. Have fun, just grab some pens. Scissors. Don't forget, pencils and erasers. A good pencil, any mechanical pencil is better than a wooden pencil. It'll be more precise. These are good erasers. You can get these Magic Rub just about anywhere. Doesn't really matter as long as it's not the kind that smears all over the place. Some watercolors, whatever you've got. The default brush is fine, but you'll be a little happier if you can find a slightly bolder brush. And something for resist tape. Blue painter's tape, especially if it's narrow, you don't need wide, will probably work great without shredding your cards. I got several that shredded my watercolor cards especially. Washi tape would be excellent for this purpose. Both of these are washi tape. Now for some deluxe supplies, such as better rulers. This metal ruler has cork on the back. You might have wondered why that's done. Yes, it does keep them from sliding, but they're very precise, some of these metal rulers. And in the old days, we had pens with a liquid cartridge that didn't dry very quickly. And if the ruler was right on the paper, the ink would slide underneath and smear. And so the cork lifts it up a little bit. If you didn't have that, you just put rolls of tape underneath your other ruler. This has saved my life. Some kind of transparent ruler would really make a difference. If you use this, you can just set this against your card, draw your line, you'll have a nice straight angle. Or a T-square will go a little bit further. And you just line it up. But these are fantastic because the grid lets you line things up right over your line. And so you can go, all right, my line is here and I want to make a new line here. So I'll just scoot it down and I can just make a new line without measuring all the time. A cutting mat that has measurements on it and whatever size you want. Some people use them for quilting. They have really big ones. This one's just 9 by 12 or something like that. It's good to have right nearby a folded paper towel that's pre-moistened. Some of the markers are going to leave their color along your ruler and you can wipe it off right away. Some type of brush pen. Now, Tombos are really popular, certainly with our carding group. They come in a million wonderful colors, and the two ends are both really good. Some of the knockoffs, the small ends aren't really very useful. The large end, though, really makes pretty large letters. And I don't use them a lot for lettering, except for the really large headlines. I'm going to be using another kind as well, because I'm going to be using a pale blue. I don't have the really pale blue Tombow. It's called Glacier. These are a set of Stadler. They only seem to come in a set. And this light blue is just perfect for clouds. The rest are very vivid colors, you'll see when I use the green. It's pretty intense. And the final deluxe item is some kind of watercolor crayons. This is Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2. Neocolor 1 is a wax crayon, so pay attention. They come in a lot of colors. Getting a set is more pricey, but because you can get them individually, I think on the Big A, but also on Dick Blith. So then you can choose the colors, and there are a lot of amazing colors, a lot of wonderful shades of blue. This one is turquoise. I think light blue is actually prettier, but it's what we've got today. So let's get busy. Okay, this first thing we're going to do, I'm going to do several things on this card. Very first, I'm using this contrasting card. We're actually not going to use a ruler. Don't scream, we're going to use your artist eyes. I don't have artist eyes. Yes, you do. I reassure the kids, I reassure you. Line it up exactly as well as the machines who made the cards will allow. Slowly, slowly Start again. Slowly, slowly drag it down. Look at your space. Look at your space. Don't go very far because that's when it will be more likely to go crooked. Now, please don't hold over here on the side. That's when it'll push out of control when you get over here. Spread your hand across. Press down into the table. And then with your pen, be very gentle. Glide your pen across. And there's our first line. Yay! All right, I'm going to do 2. You can certainly do 4. You can skip a space and have the border surrounded by white. Slide, 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 slide. Spread your fingers. Relax your arm. Draw. Look at that, a beautiful border. That's all you need to do. I chose to make it overlap so I could color. Ta-da, there we go. All right. You said we were going to measure. Yes, we're going to measure starting right now. Measure twice, draw once. Now, I am going to always set my ruler against the card. I don't go up here. Yes, it lines up too, but I always go on the land against the card. I don't like to start with the edge of the ruler, no matter what the ruler is. I'm going to start at one of the lines and I'm going to make my mark at 1/2 inch. Make a line, not a blob, not an arrow. Now turn it around the other way. Again, don't just go down to the other end. Turn your card around. Start at whatever mark you've chosen. 1/2 inch. Now, much like we did before, we're going to draw, but now we've got a different tool and we've got a ruler. So what I do is I make sure that my pencil or my tool is on my mark and I snug the ruler underneath. And this ruler looks like it'll be fine, but you never know. Now go to the other end, set it on the mark, snug the ruler, spreading your fingers, or you'll have to go back and forth many times. Spread those fingers, relax the arm, and draw. Look at that. Very nice. I'm going to do another one. You'll find out why. This one, I'm going to do 3/8. And I'm going to trust my previous mark. 1, 2, 3/8. Set your tool on the mark. Snug your ruler. Set your tool, snug your ruler. I go back and double check sometimes. Once my hands are spread, double check the spread, relax, glide. 2 lines. All right, here we go. I did 1/2 inch there because I'm creating some white space. Even that little bit, it really relaxes the eye, leads it towards your message. This one I did 3/8. All right, now what happens? Here I am. I'm going to start a second line without the ruler. And I think this is what I was doing when my writing was going crooked. So maybe it'll help, maybe not. I would think, all right, I want to kind of keep the lines from the same sentence close together, skip a space, close together. And so I would overestimate or underestimate when. So where do I start the W? You know the parts of the letter. These are ascenders that stick up. These are descenders that stick down. When doesn't have any, but you're going to have them sooner or later. And I think what happens is you start writing, you think, oh, this will be fine. Then you start avoiding. Turns out it really wasn't fine. And you start kind of avoiding that line and going downhill. Just a thought. So let's try it again. What I do sometimes is, I mean, of course you can draw another line, but I just use my finger. I go, the descenders come down to here. Sometimes I just make a little quick dot and I go, all right, I'm going to need a little more space than that. And there you go. Now, I use this little trick a lot of times when I set something in the center, like, you know, the voting date, because then I have to come all the way back here and I don't know when to start. You don't have to draw a line. Sometimes I just set the ruler down or I use my finger and slide it across. I think it'll help. Try it. Okay, now here's another use of these amazing transparent rulers is you can look through and line up one of their lines with your edge. So you don't actually always have to measure. But it's always better to work the farthest line first. Then you're a lot less likely to smear. Spread your hands. So once you have your margin defined with your pencil, you can fill in that space any number of ways. You can keep it very simple. It'll be very distinguished, or you can color it in. So now let's get busy with the washi tape. I drew a line, but I want that line to be a little more clean this time. So I'm stretching the washi tape, looking more at my marks than the actual line. And guess what? I'm going to cut it with the edges sticking out because who knows? Maybe I'm going to want to use my handy guide and tape it down. Then I don't have to worry so much about my paper wobbling around. So now I got my water, colors. Guess what? I'm a Democrat. I actually ordered some turquoise pans to fill in because I love turquoise so much. And I'm not going to get it very strong here. Kind of soft. Soft lines. And later I'm going to come back and do something else. I was thinking a dryer brush effect this time. Done with that one. Little blue violet. Get these nice effects. Okay, now this isn't bone dry, but I could go darker with the same color. I could go with a related color like the darker blue. Should I do that? No, more turquoise. Really stir it up this time. If you want to, one thing you can do is blot. I always blot with a Kleenex instead of a textured paper towel. That was already fairly dry, but you know, yellow blends so nicely with so many other colors. Now we can pull off the tape and go, ooh, look at what a nice edge that is. And yes, if you feel the need, you can go in and erase with your excellent eraser. Sometimes you don't need to. It's really been covered up. I'm going to wait till they're much drier before I start smearing it around with anything. So here, see, I didn't go to the tape that often, but it guided me, and so it still looks like it's a deliberate, purposeful shape. Here's the final one. Oh, even this tape smeared it, pulled it a little bit, but you know, I'm not going to cry about it. It's another phrase I say to the kids. I wouldn't cry about it. Surprise, I didn't warn you about grabbing some stamping ink. So if you got some stamping ink, you can grab some. I'm using a little cosmetic sponge here. Of course, we'll be doing lots and lots with our fingers in later episodes. But I didn't want to get my fingers dirty. There's one. And of course, you do know those need to dry for a few minutes. If I don't like that shape that it makes, I can cut them. I would have to get some alcohol for that. It's fun to have it go from stronger to more faded. All right, that's about enough for straight lines. Let's do something different. It's time for some brush pens. Now, a very simple thing to do going down the two sides isn't necessarily picking it up and painting like a regular, like you might think a paintbrush is. I'm going to lay it down and I'm just going to gently make a squiggle. I'm not trying to make it exactly the same. As I go, I'm pressing harder, lighter, harder, lighter, harder, lighter, harder, lighter. Okay, border. Now, after the wonderful Mim did her show me how, where she divided her paper into, her card into 3 sections, circle, square, and cloud, people started using cloud shapes more, and on the Twitter sphere, there got to be a thing of putting a cloud around it. Now, I don't always put a cloud all the way around it, but I'll show you how. And this is where I started using some really light blue brush markers, but you can use any marker. It doesn't have to have that brush quality. Now, what I like to do is sort of an upper segment and a lower segment. So I'm not going to start by going all the way around. And I'm not going to do that stereotype child equal bounce, 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 bounce. So watch. I'm going to go large, medium, small. Got that? Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3. And sometimes the third one curls around. Let's try it with highlighter. An ordinary highlighter. Move your arm. 1, 2, 3. Try it again. 2, 3. Okay, now the bottom side, I know a lot of times the bottom of a cloud is kind of flat, but I'm going to start up here with a slightly tighter tuck. 1, 2, 3. So this suggests space. The cloud isn't contained exactly in the card. Try that again. One, 2, 3. Does it have to be the same every time? No. 2, 3. Up around the side. 1, 2, 3. Again, I'm kind of laying the brush down. I'm not pushing it straight from the air. Okay, you can practice in a sketchbook or on some cheaper cards. How about this? How about we make a blue wave as a border? It does not have to be a brush pen. I'll start just with this regular highlighter. Start about a little more than halfway. Curve down, up. I mean, that's a blue wave. Not a lot of details. Who cares? Okay, I'm going to go up higher this time. There, that's a border. You can write in there. You can color it in. You can watercolor it in if you want. Now, last year, when we did Wisconsin, I decided I wanted a little more of a prairie look, but I did the same thing up above. 1, 2, 3. I didn't tuck it around though, so that's sort of the distant hills. And then down here, I went the same direction. 1, 2, 3. Some of them I went all the way across. I got a little fixated on doing the fox for the Fox River Valley. I made a little fox down here, made a little river. But you get the idea. If you want it with greenery instead of with a sky and a cloud, you just switch colors. Or let's just try doing the grass with a regular bold pen. I think that paint pen was a little too heavy and scary. 1, 2, 3. And a little something else. 1, 2, however many you want. How about a nice little sunshine? Okay, now for the final fun time borders with the watercolor crayon. There are so many ways you can use these. I actually cut out letters for the fun and easy part in my titles, and I used this effect. I was trying to avoid making something that would smear on our cards. I don't want to get my surface dirty. Gonna color right along the edge here. This one is turquoise blue. Okay, this is not the card I'm writing on yet, anyway. So I'm going to draw a line or use my artist eyes and set it somewhere. Really press down and go. Drag, drag, drag. Drag it off in an interesting way. See, the thickness of the card creates a little edge sometimes. Don't cry about it. Isn't that nice? Nice little border you could do with any color. Now we're going to make a stencil for a cloud, kind of like this. I'm using a little bit lighter card to cut, by the way. And I'm going to draw a little bit more stereotype cloud. Not too small because that's a lot of cutting. There are certainly scissors that are a lot finer than this. A teacher would tell you, always go into those tight corners. It's nice when you get that continuous roundy cut. It's best when you have decent scissors. I thought about grabbing my brand new garden scissors. All right, kind of a funky cloud. And now I have light blue color on something. You teach yourself how much color it takes to load up for the effect you want. Line it up a little ways from the top. Get yourself a slightly larger brush if you have one. Get it wet. Hold your stencil down. Now it's a little more complicated. Drag, drag, drag. Oops. Painting on my surface again. Drag, drag, drag. Depending on the thickness of the card, you might get a little white edge. Don't cry about it. There's that cute. Now you could use the same one at the bottom. You could cut, another shape. This was cut a little more slopedy to make it look like the cloud is curving around. Or you could just draw and waterize that. That's how these can work. So I've got two effects on one cloud. What do you know? We call that positive and negative. Speaking of, hey, how about we just paint a cloud? Now, we don't want to get your cards soaking wet and have them curl a lot, but you can do it. I'm going to use regular blue here, and I'm just going to paint a little bit more of a normal cloud for those of you who've been crying, saying, I thought we were going to put a cloud around it. And now I'm going to blur that cloud with my brush. Just depends on how much you want to do. I like to do it, of course, with that lighter blue too, because if you have to, when you're writing your message and it dries, right on top of the edge of the cloud. It's not a wall, it's a cloud. There are a million simple, fun, and frugal ways to decorate your cards with borders and give your cards an edge. So here are the things we learned about today. Drawing border lines with pens and markers. Measuring and making guidelines. Using tape resist to create border effects. Using brush pens, markers, watercolor, and watercolor crayons for borders. You remember all that? And hopefully we learned about relaxing, exploring, and enjoying. So what did you think? Did you have any fun? Did you learn some things? I hope so. Regardless, get some cards and keep writing. We've got a lot of campaigns and they keep coming up. Now my next session will be also kind of structuring the space, but a lot more fun, making those ribbons you may have seen. It's called billowing banners. It also structures the space, but it helps call attention to the important words that you'll be putting inside those banners. And there's so many ways to do them. So please subscribe to my channel and try to be nice in the comments. Ask if you need some more information, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.